Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Louie.
And welcome to our podcast.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. This is episode 11.
Ohms.
We've done 11 of these already.
Where does time go?
I can't believe we've blabbed our mouth this much.
Running your mouth for 11 podcast episodes.
Yeah, we talk a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize I talked that much. Anyways, so if you guys haven't checked out our last episode, episode 10, go ahead, take a peek back at that. In that episode, we discussed like when we first moved to the Quinta here in Portugal. And then in this episode, from a request from you guys, we're going to talk about learning the language and kind of our experience with that. And yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like and subscribe so we can show up more on your feed. You can get more of our daily life in Portugal. We also post vlogs occasionally on YouTube. If you're following on Spotify, I always say this, I can never remember. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to click the follow button so that way you'll hear more of our podcast there. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Louie and Portugal. At Louie in Portugal and Morgan in Portugal. Excuse me, You would think I'm caffeinated up, but I'm not.
She's doing good.
Thanks. Okay, how should we get into this?
How did you first discover the Portuguese language?
Through you.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so let's see. This is going back quite a few years, but I remember I met Louie at work and just casually in conversation, he was like, yeah, I'm Portuguese, like my parents are Portuguese and I speak Portuguese. And I was like...
She's like, what? What's a Portuguese?
What?
No, I'm just kidding. She did know what and where Portugal was.
Yes, I did take...
I say that because I've met people who do not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is one of the smaller European countries, but it is a major European country, so it always surprises me. But anyways, I was like, excuse me, what? You speak another language? Because something about me, I always wanted to learn another language, and it just wasn't feasible. Like living in the United States, not surrounded by people who...
I mean, didn't you learn, most schools offer a second language.
It's not the same because you can never quite become proficient in it. You take like I took French and Spanish in middle school, and then I went into high school and I took 2 years of Spanish, and I was good at foreign language because I became the Spanish club president, and then I changed from Spanish to Latin, and I loved Latin. I actually got... from my school, I got the highest grade on the national Latin exam 2 times in a row. So I got like honor, like rewards in the reward ceremony. Anyways, enough about my foreign language gloating.
Latin is no longer even something.
No.
I don't even know if they still even do it in Catholic masses still.
Oh, really?
They used to. I mean, when I was an altar boy.
It was a fun thing. I enjoyed it very much. That was my favorite class in high school. So... I love foreign language.
That's really cool.
And you have to continue on into college if you want to become proficient. But really, as you guys will find out, you really only become proficient when you immerse yourself in the culture of that language, because there's nothing like learning a dialect, learning the slang, hearing people speak it like naturally, fluently born that way. That's their first language. It's so different. So that's how I got into foreign language. And then when I met you, I was like, wait a minute, you speak another language? And then I was like, I remember being like, tell me something, say something in Portuguese. And you were like, no, I'm not going to say anything. I was like, say something. And then you were like, okay, I'll teach you something. And I think, what was the first word you taught me, excuse my language, it was either merda or blica. And if you guys don't know, I learned this living here. Oh yeah, that's horrible. That was your doing.
Are you sure it was those words?
Absolutely. I remember. Because then he would be like, we worked in a sea of cubicles. He'd be like, yell it really loudly over the cubicles. I'm like, absolutely not. On the off chance that somebody knows what that means. Absolutely not. But...
Which nobody would know.
No.
Not there.
No. But I remember, what was I going to say after that? I was going to say something like, I learned here... Actually, with my vizinha, that blica is an Azorian word.
Can you believe this?
Yeah, that was fun. He didn't even know.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was a normal word.
Mm-hmm. And even
slang
today,
word, I thought, but I thought it was for all of Portugal.
Everybody knew it. Nope, it's an Azorian word. I won't tell you what it means. You can figure that out on your own if you do not know. But the fact that we're talking about this. Also today in our Legree class, we were talking to the trainer, our instructor, and talking about curse words because, what is it? Is it porra?
Porra.
Porra is really commonly spoken here in the north of Portugal.
In basic conversation, she was saying.
Yeah.
But in the Azores, it's more of a, kind of like a...
It's a bad word?
Yeah, it's kind of like a mess up.
Oh.
But my dad always used it as a very angry word.
Yeah. Well, and so then I had heard from numerous people, and I've heard children say, caralho. And so I brought that up today, and our instructor was like, no, don't say that here. So I get very confused with like what words are everyday spoken words and which ones are not, but like
you just literally
probably,
that's a big curse word actually that you just said on this. Yeah.
But it's in Portuguese.
It's still a curse
word. But I literally have a t-shirt with that word on it, so who cares? Sorry guys, if there are children listening, don't repeat that word. And other than that, we're all adults. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be fine. Okay, so let's backtrack. So that's how I learned that you spoke a second language and that it was your first language. And then, I mean, why don't you tell your story before we go into mine? So you grew up in Fall River with Portuguese parents. It was your first language. And how did you learn English?
That's a real fun question. I learned English. Both of my parents spoke only Portuguese back when they moved to America. So I watched Sesame Street, and that's how I learned how to speak English. I'm from Fall River, Massachusetts, and I went to Ralph M. Small School. There was no bilingual class.
Small school.
You were put into the English-speaking class.
Oh, really?
And I went in there with no issue for the basic English.
Wow.
Where my brother, on the other hand, went to Lincoln School in Fall River, Massachusetts, and he needed to go to a bilingual class because he didn't sit there and watch Sesame Street like Louie did.
Wow.
He wanted to play with his toys, which, it's understandable.
Yeah, he's a kid. I think that is so cool because I've actually heard a few other people from Fall River be like, I also learned to speak English in Sesame Street. So like, I didn't realize that Sesame Street would teach you English like that, but I guess as you're like, when you're a kid, they always say you can pick it up faster and easier. So, and then when you went into school, how was it? It wasn't a problem at all?
I'm guessing
that you could remember?
We all sounded like we were from Boston, Massachusetts, so I think I did, yeah. We all sounded alike.
And do you ever like remember, I don't think I've ever asked you this, do you ever remember a point like from the early stages of grade school where you struggled with like, you were like, I have to speak English here, but like I speak Portuguese at home, and like
Never.
You never questioned it. It just happened. It
was so natural
flowed.
because it was ingrained in me. Just like most, I'm sure, people that I grew up with, all my friends, even people today, we can just flip that back and forth because we were forced to translate things to our parents.
Yeah.
Like my dad worked construction, and when his boots were messed up and the sole peeled off, we'd have to go to the store, and he'd be furious and be Luis. DGs, and he would tell her blah 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 blah, and like I'm a kid, I'm not gonna tell her this stuff, I'm just gonna be basics, but you would have to translate that.
And now you're full circle because you're doing it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but I do try.
I do.
So yeah, okay, that's kind of funny though.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Who would have thought?
But now moving to Portugal, the Portuguese I'm used to, which was just conversation, you know what I mean, with my parents.
Yeah.
Now, we had to go buy a vehicle here, and now you got to deal business. We had to find a rental here through a realtor, and we had to deal business.
Yeah.
But even when I was in the Navy and I interpreted Portuguese for a very brief period of time, it was very difficult for some areas of that because it was a different conversation, It wasn't just like, hi, bye, how's the weather that I have with my parents. It was more in depth.
In depth, yeah.
So being here has really helped me to pay attention more and learn what some of these words are that I've heard in my life, but I never realized how they were spelled. So now when I see them like on a billboard, I'm like, That makes sense. That is that word that I've heard my entire life, and I see it how it is spelled now.
So like, you know, today we were talking about body parts in class, and she said joelho. Mm-hmm. How do you spell that? Do you know?
No, but in my head I see like a like
is it a J?
J. I don't know. I have no idea how to spell. I can read it. I can speak it.
Yeah, I will say for me, learning the language, it's really funny because I actually think that I can phonetically spell out Portuguese words better than you can.
I agree, yeah, because, you know, not to...
No, you learned speaking.
You're learning with a tutor.
Yeah.
I learned how to speak a slang Portuguese at that with my dad speaking wicked Azorian, you know what I mean? So I didn't...
You just had to communicate for survival, literally.
Right, yeah.
And like I'm doing it as like a side thing, like a, you know, to... Now it's for survival, but before it was for, I don't even know what you would call it, like as an addition to my life.
So you can talk to my family and
just to learn the foreign language, like all of these different things. Before we had officially decided to move here, I was like, I should just get a head start on it, and you know, I think that has kind of like made my phonetic spelling easier in a way. And like a tip that if you're trying to learn the language for me is anytime I think like, oh, how would I say or spell this? I go to Google Translate and I try to type it out in Portuguese first.
That's really smart.
So like joelho, I would go to Google Translate and type it out in Portuguese, what I think it would be spelled, and then see what it says, you know, if it comes out correctly in English. And if not, obviously you could just revert it and do like, you know,
right.
What is joelho? Is that elbow? Knee. So I would, you know, type out knee and see how it's actually spelled. But it just kind of tests my knowledge, and it doesn't just give me the easy shortcut out of it. I have to actually like think like, how does this spell? You know, how is this spelled? Something I think this is a tip I'm also going to give you guys. Something I think both you and I should have done before we moved here was learn the alphabet. Like how to say the alphabet exactly.
Like pronounce it, yeah.
Because there have been many times.
Right.
Like when my first name is Alyssa, it's Alyssa.
Bet you guys didn't know that.
Yeah. Maybe only a few, yeah. Every time I spell it, I like to a doctor or something, like a doctor's office, I can spell some of it, like is it L, I don't know, see? And then the Y, I'm always like, I don't know how to say that, because that's like a newer addition to their alphabet recently. It's not even in the Portuguese language, if I'm correct. So like some doctors will put I, and because they'll say like E, like like I is pronounced like E. Anyways, I'm rambling, but learn how the alphabet is pronounced. It's something we probably could do on YouTube, just kind of like go over it a few times, but we have not done it, and we need to. You will be using that quite a bit here to spell your name and for paperwork and stuff like that. So, yeah. Well, o que mais? What else should we talk about with language?
Well, how is it living here? How did you, you have a tutor? Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a tutor. I don't anymore. Yeah, I haven't in a while.
How did that go?
So with her, for me, I learned with you and your family first, like basic vocab. I'd be like, how do you say this? What's lamp? What's window? You know, what's wall? Whatever. And you would tell me, and I would just hear it based off of sound. I never saw it written. I never saw it like spelled out, nothing. And so I would just learn from repeating it with you. And then when I got my tutor, Isabel was like, you say things with a major accent, with the Azorian accent. And I was like, okay, noted, didn't realize. And like, I remember one of the first lessons I had with her, she was like, what was it? It was like one of the words that we dropped the vowels on at the end. So like quero, we would say kid. And she was like, no, you're not gonna do that. And I realized, like, I think a few classes later, I was like, I just realized in my head as I was talking to her that I said a word that had a vowel at the end of it, and it went off like, I probably do this a lot more than I know that I do, So that was very unique to me. And then
I didn't realize I did that, drop the vowels either, until you brought that to my attention. So that's pretty fun.
I was like, you got an accent.
Yeah,
like a major accent.
No idea. It's pretty,
so, yeah. And then now hearing his dad speak, after we moved here, like I was so used to his dad's Portuguese. But your dad also has like a stutter. What is that called? It starts with a G. There's a word in Portuguese for stutter. And
something like...
is it a G, I think? Something, I don't remember. And I was so used to his accent that like his accent's so thick because of the Azores and also because of his stutter. But then like we moved here and I feel like I didn't talk to him for a while, and then when I did, I had already been exposed to everybody here, so when I talked to him I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It was
massive difference.
It was a shock
in Portuguese. And like, so I had my tutor, and she kind of like helped guide me through basics, like, you know, like learning family, how to say like family members, and she tried, like the verbs are always the hardest part, and even when I took Spanish, that was always a struggle. So like I've kind of, like conjugating verbs, I've kind of just avoided that as much as I can, and I learned the like basic ones. Like if I want to say like, did you eat or something like that, I would say like, comeste, right? Or did I eat? Comeste. So like I learned basic things like that through hearing you guys. I mean, what else? I mean, my tutor was super helpful with many different ways. If you're moving overseas, she gave me a plethora of knowledge on like how to get things set up, how to start our life here, where we can buy things. Like she sent me, I felt so in the dark, and she was really my lifeline with that. So recommend that. A tutor can be worth way more than just your language.
How did you feel about the Portuguese when you moved here to the Quinta?
Ooh, okay, well...
It's a different part of Portugal that we were living before.
So when we first moved here, in general, not even the Quinta, we kept hearing people say things differently, and we were like, maybe it's the Venezuelans that are here, because like the guy that we
I didn't even know that.
Yes, we did. The guy that Matthias at the coffee shop, when we had talked to him, he had said he had moved to Venezuela for a long time and then moved back, and then he had two girls that worked at the coffee shop, and I remember being like, their Portuguese is so different. It's so different. And then I realized one day, I'm like, oh, I think they're Venezuelan. Like I heard at one time he like told me to come back and make some of those like little pancake things, those Venezuelan pancakes, and see how they were made in the kitchen. And I went back and I was listening to the girls talk, and they wicked speak Venezuelan, not Portuguese at all. And so I was like, okay, so they're Venezuelan. But actually come to find out, here in the north, it's not just the Venezuelan, it's the Satok. The accent is, I mean, as you know, it's a B for a V.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
And it's kind of hard in a way, because we live in an area called Vagos, but they call it Bags. And like, that's not even like remotely the same. So like when sometimes I'll hear our neighbor, like one time she taught me that cellar or basement is cob. And so for like months, I would tell Louie, cob, like, she's in the cob, like, you know, we have to go there. And then one day I was like, how do you spell that? Is it C-A-B-E? And I Google translated it. No, C-A-V-E, like cave. I'm like,
wow.
So I realized not only have I learned a São Miguel accent, but if I'm not careful, I'm going to learn a northern Portuguese accent, because our vizinha and everyone else is going to teach me things that are pronounced that way. So it has been unique, if I can say that. It's been unique.
What would be, for somebody moving here, your top 3 things that you would suggest those people do?
Like my top 3 tips?
To learn a different language.
This is really good. So if they were moving here specifically, because I think it changes based off of if you're not moving to the country. But if someone were to move and need to learn a foreign language, I think I would recommend, number 1 would be definitely get a tutor. Absolutely. I think it's an investment that will change your life. Like mine absolutely changed my life. I have a friend now, you know, I have someone who helped me navigate a very hard transition of my life, and I just think it was worth it. I think for Isabel, I paid through Preply, so I did it on the computer, and I did it like once a week. I think it was like $19 or $20
in the States.
In the States, yep. And then, like, you know, I just feel like that's like number one. Like, get a tutor. Then two more. The second one, I think, is something I started doing earlier on. I recommend read books, magazines, online articles, watch movies. Like, for a long time, I watched RTP as much as I could. And if you have an Amazon Fire Stick, you can get RTP. You can download the RTP app. And so we did that in the US, and I downloaded the RTP app. And not only does it have the news, it has like channels. Like, you can flip through like kids learning. So that was really cool to do. And then also it had TV shows and movies like Portugal, The Voice, Portugal, like that show. And also it had the Portuguese kids.
That's right.
So I started watching the little mini series of the Portuguese kids because we watch them on YouTube forever. And so that was really cool. That was very, very fun. Oh, another thing, music. Like, we listen to Portuguese music like crazy.
When we first started dating, I introduced her to all kinds of zany Portuguese music, but it was easy to follow, so she actually like picked up. I think it was easy.
It took a little bit. In the beginning, I heard 0 words in all of it. I was like, I have no clue what they're saying. Louie would be like, oh, they're saying this, and I'd be like, okay, I don't know. But now, especially now, there are certain things that, like, you know, if something comes on the radio, like, especially we love Mark Paul, so we listen to, there's another Marco Paulo.
Oh yeah, that's
Mark
true.
Paul.
Mark Paul.
I love his music. He's probably one of my favorite Portuguese artists, like musicians, and he's so like 80s, and now I can understand what he's saying in a lot of them. So
sing along.
Really cool. It really helped with like comprehension. And then my third tip, I think, would be, this is obviously if you're moving here, but like, you have to immerse yourself as much as you can in the culture, because my language learning shifted when I started literally having to speak it for survival. Like I don't ever use Louie to make appointments of any sort. I always call the doctor on my own. When we go to the doctor and he goes with me, he's always there for moral support, and he will sometimes jump ahead of me, and I'm like, stop it, I have to learn this. I have to, like, you know, do it myself, because, you know, that's the only way you're gonna survive. Like, anytime we go like to get a cafe or something, unless I'm being lazy, I would like to go pay so I can hear them say it out loud. And, you know, with that comes, like, you can ask for patience. I almost know if I'm gonna like F it up, that I will go in there and I will be like, estou aprendendo português, because like I'm learning and I want them to know that first thing. And then you just try. And I remember Matthias at the coffee shop, when we first moved here, the coffee shop owner we would go to every day, I would be like, "Quão custa, Matthias?" And he would tell me, and I'd be like, huh?
It was a Portuguese lesson every day. He had so much patience with you. So much patience. And they will have patience with you. The Portuguese people have so much patience if they see you trying. If they see you trying, they will absolutely have patience with you. They'll be very encouraging as well. Yeah. They always tell Morgan, "You're doing such a really good job." Oh, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I could be doing better. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Thanks. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Just, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. And I think that's kind of what makes it fun. I will say one more thing, because I think we're going to kind of wrap it up in a minute. I do think it's normal to have this like feeling, and sometimes I have this in myself, and I don't really talk to you much about it, but I feel like it's normal to feel like you're never going to fully adapt. And it could be to the culture, but like for me, the culture is amazing. It's the language that's so hard, and like it not being my first language, and me being older in life, like it's like I feel like I'll never fully get to that level of like where I can just sit down and have a fluent conversation, no problem. And sometimes it's kind of sad in a way where you're like, it'll never fully be like
there. But I think at the end of the day, like, that's normal. And just keep trying and, like, get the best you can, because, like, I can communicate most days with most things. And even if I'm 30 years later into my life and I don't know a word, somebody can explain it to me, and we have the internet. But it is sometimes kind of, like, sad. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like, I feel like I don't belong in a way, you know? Mm-hmm. So, okay, I don't want to finish this off on a horrible note. I just want people to know what to expect, because I'll tell you what, before we moved here, I was like, I don't care about the language. That's the least of my concerns. I'll figure that out when I get there, right? And then you get here and you have to do it, and that's a whole nother thing.
I was going to say, you want to figure it out, but that's not true, because we've met people that still do not even seem like they're showing signs of trying to learn the language, which is kind of heartbreaking in a way, because you should be involved in the culture, engaging in the culture.
Everybody always asks, oh, can I come here? Can I work here? I'm afraid I don't know the language yet. I haven't learned it. It's like, you can start now, number one. If that's a goal you have and you want to move here, you can start little by little learning the language. It's not too bad.
Resources are out there.
Yeah. And two, like, yes, everybody speaks English. If you're in major cities, yes. But, like, don't rely on that. And, like, we live in the country, and here nobody speaks English.
That's really cool.
So, yeah. So, okay, well, I feel like that is pretty much all I have to say about this. Anything else from you?
No.
On the language? Okay.
Te pasmana.
Okay, I like that. I think next week, at least pending right now, next week we're probably going to talk about how we got into social media. I think that might be where we go, unless for some reason we decide to change our minds. So if you're curious about how we have a podcast, why we have a podcast, and if you've been following us on social media and you're curious about how we got started and all of that, tune into next week's episode, and
should be a fun one.
I think so. Yeah. We'll see you guys next week. Beijinhos.
Te logo.